Hello and welcome to Salute. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and I have a guest who's been in the entertainment business for a long time. He is not a veteran, but he has a passion for veterans. Rob Newton, nice to see you.
Bob, I'm honored to be on with you.
Well, I'm honored to have you, my friend, and you are now doing some work with the Q.
Yeah.
WQBQ, the radio station, 1410. 1410, yeah. 14. I wasn't good at math, 1410, with James Floyd, and we kind of partnered with them, so I'd like to bring you on and have you talk a little bit about what the Rob Newton Show is about in your career. Where are you from originally?
Originally Kansas City and Lake of the Ozarks, throughout Missouri, actually, and started in radio and television in 1971. That makes me a lot older than you, Bob.
No, I don't think so. We're not going to tell people our ages on TV here.
Let's not do that.
No, let's not do that.
But have always had a passion. I didn't serve. I was in that Nixon lottery, if you remember that. Your birth date, what number you are in the draft, and where you're going to go. My roommate was number 1 in college, and so I was number 362. Still have a great love and respect for anyone who served in any of our services and the people who support them. So I kind of dedicated myself then, because I wasn't on the ship and I wasn't on the ground. I thought, if I ever get to a point where I've got places in the media that I can talk about our veterans, talk about the problems that are out there, talk about the veterans' suicides and the problems that we have, and the fact that we still have people in harm's way overseas, and yet when and I'm not being political here, but when you look at the big 3 networks or 4 networks, you never hear about any of our soldiers anymore. It's kind of out of vogue, would you say?
Well, I don't know how to explain it, but you're right. There's a lot going on in the with our soldiers, our troops. There's like 1/2 or 1% serve in the military now. And 15% of the military now is ladies, our female soldiers, and they are, you and I both have met some of them who were severely wounded, and their attitude, and oh God, you got to respect our military people nowadays, and the ones who served in the past. That's what this show is all about, is that, and we try to bring it out, and I'm glad that you're here, because you're not having served in the military, but having that passion is something, and we'd like to get that passion out to everybody, especially the younger people, and the new troops coming home. Get involved. That's how we make a difference, if we get involved. Join a Legion, join a VFW, join an AMVETS, join the Navy, the Marine Corps League, or what have you, But anyway, that's my philosophy. That's your philosophy. But I want to hear more about the Rob Newton companies.
Well, we're involved in radio and television to a great extent. After all the years I've been in the media, since the 70s, I've tried to be on the air as much as I possibly could. Now, you've got me in a strange seat today. I've never been the interviewee. I've always been the interviewer.
Yeah, be careful. So I got it wired, too.
Be more than happy to be on your chair right now. But I try to work as hard as I can with Combat Veterans to Careers with David Booth, Marie Bogdanoff with Villagers for Veterans, and it was through them that I came to know people like Pam Kelly, who was not injured in war but injured in training, and had a great deal of weight fall on her, and therefore she is terribly hurt and handicapped for the rest of her life. And yet, I liked what you said. When I talk to people who are paraplegics or quads, they don't seem to have a problem in the world with what happened to them. They don't feel sorry for themselves. They're not asking for a handout. They're looking for a hand up. And I think that the society needs more people like you, more people like David and Marie and some of the other people that we know, Keith Oliver and people like that. Just trying to get across that, when the veterans come home, there's no parade. There's no big parade. The only one they see is when there's an honor flight, and they get to come back to, to wherever it's going out from. And then there's a whole lot of people. There's the parades, there's the bands, there's the cheerleaders, and that's kind of a coming home for them. But society as a whole just doesn't really realize the toll that it takes on volunteer service people right now, the fact that, we lose some in battle, not as much as we have in years past. But if you look at the number of veterans who commit suicide, it's twice the average U.S. citizen population of suicides every year. We all get very excited, the suicide hotline and all that, and we get so worried about our next door neighbor, the guy down the street, he committed suicide. Well, what about the veterans who people aren't spending any attention to? They're trying to. But I believe we need more work from the government and all that.
I've got some news flash. Keith Toten, who's a dear friend of mine.
Yes.
One Team, One Fight for PTSD. He's got a great organization. There's a veteran suicide hotline. There's a lot of stuff out there. People just need to know about it, and that's why I think it's great that you're going to get on the radio and do that stuff and tell people what is out there. But Keith was on here a couple of weeks ago and talking about we're going to have a parade in Tavares, I do believe, in Veterans Day.
Great.
There'll be a parade. I have been an advocate for trying to get a parade here in Leesburg. We do have a tremendous Veterans Park down there.
Yes.
So we could maybe do a gathering or something. But it seems a lot of the communities stay within the communities, and we need to get them all out.
We sure do.
We put people together. That would really work, wouldn't it?
I live in the villages, as you know, and my big thing right now is to try to get the organizations that are in the villages to go beyond the border, so to speak, and go up 441, across 466, and blend in with the other communities. Let's get with the Leesburgs of the world, the Eustaces and the Tavares, and let's go up to Ocala and get to know the media people up there who are just second to none. But the fact is, as you say, there seems to be kind of a cordon off of areas. This town's going to do something, so this town doesn't. Well, couldn't we do it all together?
Hey, I've been like that ever since I came here. But in fact, I'll tell you a true story. When I first came down, and I've been very active in the veterans community for over 35 years.
Yes, sir.
And when I came down here, and I've been here 14 years, I stopped at the Bellevue VFW and the American Legion, Lady Lake.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, why don't we all put it all together here, all the veterans organizations. Guy from the Legion says to me, I have no problem working with Bellevue, and Bellevue has no problem working with us. But if you go into the villages, there's so many different organizations, and they don't talk to one another.
True.
Which is sad, I mean.
If there's something we can get behind, now we're not all in the same water,
right?
But we're all in the same boat.
We all have the same passion.
Yeah, and people need to reach out to our veterans and to the groups you were talking about. How can they get involved? Mm-hmm. Whether it's attend one of the lotteries or attend a meeting or get together with their neighbors and support the Maries of the world and the David Booths of the world, because those monies don't go to some BMW for somebody to drive, like some organizations around our country. We're looking at people who work 20 hours a day, 24 hours a day, like in Marie's case and David's case and Keith's case and your case. These people are passionate, and they're also in the know. And it shows like yours and Lakefront TV that need to be praised for the time and the effort that they set aside.
People are going to think I paid you.
No way. I mean, we just got to know each other in the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, really, yeah. But we are very blessed here to have the support of the city of Leesburg and the crew I have here, Todd and Lance and Dr. Anna Marie. We managed to, we're really kind of blessed. You don't see this program in too many places in the country,
True, and very professionally done, may I say. Sometimes you have a community-based television station or a college-based TV station or radio station, which I came up through in Missouri. And, they do a pretty good job because they're training students and they're training people. But yet, you have to be a senior or a graduate student to get on the air when we should be training them from the time they're freshmen. I was lucky in Missouri. I started on the air when I was a freshman, right out of the box.
Freshman in high school?
In college.
In college.
And I've always been, sort of at that curve. I was able to serve on TV in the villages and radio in the villages for 14 great years.
I got it right here. Radio
Right
and Television Productions, Orlando News, 96.5 since '84. Lake County Radio since 1979, like you said. You were ABC Network affiliate, board of advisors in Kansas City, on and on and on. You know, you do the resource hour, help for veterans, support veterans and veterans, combat veterans to careers. That's David. Support for the thousands in the Ocala Forest. That's one of my very special passions with my good friend in the villages, Gary Cato. I don't know.
Yes, I love Gary. And it's amazing how people will live anywhere in this area from Ocala South, and they don't realize when they're scooting over there on 40 or scooting up on 19, they don't realize that just beyond those trees, like in a movie, we have thousands of people who just couldn't quite fit back in when they came back from the war or came out of military service. And so they've got tents, old trailers, campers, lean-tos. You know, you think about the last 4 or 5 weeks when we've had this torrential downpours every day. How would you like to be living in a tent up against a tree? And the great thing I love about our community is we're educating their kids and kind of just doing it. You know, the kids go up to the highway, they catch the bus, they come back.
You know,
and there's no backlash, there's no state coming down here saying, you can't do that. Those kids aren't registered. No, give them an education. Let's just do that.
Mr. Cato has been very big in that, and when I first started out on doing this show, it was Pastor Chris Ward.
Yes.
And Pastor Chris was a Vietnam veteran. He did a tour in Vietnam. He volunteered for the second tour. He had lost some good buddies. Second tour, they realized he had a problem. Sent him home. He found the Lord through a friend, and he was the man for like 17 years would be in that force. And you just don't go in that force. You talk about that. We want to warn our folks, you don't just go in there. They have their own, and a lot of them will be here in the wintertime. In the summertime, they go someplace else. But there's generational type things. And Pastor Ward and Gary Cato put it together where they had all the churches working together.
Right.
And like you said, they started bus stops and everything.
And if you work with Gary Cato, who is just such an American and such a patriot, if you work with him, he knows the people that are trusted by the forest folks and can take food in, supplies, medical supplies, things that these people don't have ready access to. They just don't ride down to Publix on a bicycle. I mean, so they need food, they need substance, and they need our help. But you have to go through the right people. Because if you get your neighbors together and drive up there and pull off the side of the road on 19 and say, I'm just going to follow this path into the forest.
Don't do that.
No, you're not going to be accepted. And you're probably going to get a hard time.
I'm going to have Gary's coming back in another couple of weeks.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about Gary. We're here to talk about you. So you got involved. Why the passion with getting involved with TV and everything? Is that what you kind of like wanted to be when you grew up?
I started off in Kansas City at KCMO when I was in college, and furthered that to several shows around the Kansas City market when I was still in college. And I loved the camera. I loved the people. I was on TV up here at the Villages for years as an anchor, and just loved the medium. Now, I spend a lot more time in radio in the past several years, but I've tried to turn every venue, every possible venue, into somehow slipping in there. Let's get behind the veterans, you know. And so, whatever media exposure I'm given at this point in my life, we dedicate it to helping. Now, we get to a place where you've got to do other things. You know, 50 to 60% of your broadcast career has to be getting the name out there, like I do in Orlando, and just getting a place in the market. But then you stand a better chance, just like you stand a better chance than to be asked by the Optimist, the Lions Club, the whoever, to come before them. And I use that time 100% on not Rob Newton, not the media base I have. I use it for the troops, the returning troops, just like this. And looking up last night on the computer before I came down to see you, 321 active soldiers committed suicide in 2018. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, so we got to
it-
stem the tide.
You're right. We have to do whatever we can possibly do, and not just for that active military, but that family.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. Keith is very good about talking about that. If you contemplate it, think about the effects on your family too. They have to survive through all that.
Through Combat Veterans to Careers and Villagers for Veterans, I've met an awful lot of family members like you're talking about, and the wife or the husband that weren't active, but their mate was. And how when they went overseas, whether it be Iraq, Afghanistan, or all the way back to Vietnam, Korea, when the soldier comes home, they're totally different. And the role that we've got to understand as a society and a community is, look, the wife or the husband, while their mate was over fighting for our country, they took over everything, the banking, the shopping, the car maintenance, and everything. So the soldier comes home, and he says, hey, honey, I'm going to run the car down to so-and-so mechanic. And the mate, not even thinking about it, says, well, while you were gone, we started using so-and-so over here at Quality Tire or whatever. And I try to emphasize that with the Blackstone Financial Group when I'm doing their shows. They're very open to the veterans, and they help a lot, especially with Honor Flight. And if somebody says they're watching you, or they're watching or hearing me on the radio, and they think, well, what can I do? Well, how about contributing and sponsoring a soldier on the Honor Flight? They get to go to Washington. They get to see the monuments.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a terrific. I have been on an honor flight as a guardian, wow. And that's a terrific program they do. There's a lot. Once again, there's a lot out there. I just wish like the young veterans returning, and I know they have to get on with their life and they have families and stuff, but try to get them involved with the different organizations. Once you come home, it's not really over, and you grow when you go into service. And service is an excellent opportunity for a lot of young people to get an education and everything. There's a lot of good things out of it.
And it's a volunteer service, but I'm hoping, I've been doing a lot of work lately on the air, trying to convince parents that your kid doesn't have to go from high school graduation right to a college 3 months later. If they can do a stint in the service, and maybe their passion is computers, maybe it's ammunition, maybe it's vehicles, there's plenty of things for them to learn and to get education. And then if they do choose to go on to college or into a trade, which we need more tradespeople, try to find an electrician these days, a plumber, whatever, these kids are much better served having been in the military. They mature a lot, and they get more love of country out of it, I think. And, there's a great honor flight story. I keep in touch with those people a lot. And remember the government shutdown under our past president. And there was a government shutdown that lasted several weeks, and honor flight was going to Washington. Well, they were pretty well told that when you get to Washington, you won't have access to the monuments because the people running
I remember that story, yeah.
And they said the people running the monuments aren't going to allow you into the monuments because they're not fully staffed. So when they got back, I questioned a couple of them on a radio show with David and Marie, and I said, well, how'd it go? And they said, we got the plane right up there, we got the bus, we went to the place, we had our sponsors, we're being wheeled up to the area. We were apprehensive that we couldn't go to see the monument. And all of a sudden the guards and whoever was keeping track, the security, they kind of turned their back and went and had lunch. And they honored our soldiers so much, and they care so much for them, that they were willing to maybe get a chastising from their boss by saying, you guys, you earned these monuments, go look at them.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah, I do remember that. Now, like I said, you're going to be on the queue.
Yeah.
And you do other, so what would they find you on the queue, a certain time?
Fridays at 1 o'clock. On the queue, and James Floyd and his family are doing a wonderful job for our community. One of my big passions in radio, and I've been in it, like you said, since '71, one of my passions is, can we just, when we live out here, Leesburg, Ocala, the Villages, wherever it is, Tavares, Eustis, I've lived in all of them, can we tune in the local radio station, the local TV station, and get involved in our community? It's not all about the internet and not all about the networks. And I spend a majority of my time now on the air in Orlando. That's fine. I serve the Orlando market when I'm there on News 96.5 WDBO. Been with them since the mid-'80s. But I still have a passion when I come back at home and I'm with you or any of the TV and radio outlets up here. Hey, let's support our local people. Let's support our companies that support shows like this and support James. And let's get behind them. And make sure that you go there to do your shopping. Maybe not Mall of the Millennia, but how about our malls here? And how about our stores here? Those are our neighbors, and they're
he does the thing on his show where the sponsors will say, okay, you can get a fish fry at the AmVets or this other product here, and there you bid on it. And it's pretty neat. You can get some pretty neat stuff, that way. And James does do a lot in the community. In fact, I was just over at the Q the other day, and we gave my Eagles Airy 4273. I should put a shout out to him. I was there with James talking about Red for Ed, and that goes for the month of June and July, where we get school supplies to help the children who parents don't have enough money, but our school teachers who are great, they dig in their own pockets and they get the school supplies for the kids. Well, we're getting some of those school supplies. And my Eagles just gave him $1,000 to buy school supplies. So yeah, it works if, and there's a lot of great organizations out there. Like I said, the AmVets, the Legions, the VFWs, and the Vietnam Veterans in the Villages. They do a lot too. So
yeah, and you look
all there.
You look at our Legions and stuff like that, and the VFW. Some of the chapters here in Central Florida are the largest chapters of their kind in the United States.
Yeah.
So there are so many ways for people to get involved. And I think it starts with Lakefront TV. I think it spreads out through James and QBQ. And just going to the local organization and walking in the door and say, can I help? Can I put some groceries in a bag or in a box that you're going to take to the forest? Or can I get involved with the local VFW or whatever organization it is? Somebody's got to sweep the floor. Somebody's got to run the parking lot. Somebody's got to do everything, because every dime that has to be spent to do these things is a dime that's not going to the veterans. And we need to make sure that the veterans are on the receiving end of this.
That's true. You're getting back into. Do you mind if I talk about this? You're getting back into the swing of things because you got ill there for a little while.
Yeah, I really, as I look back, I feel really bad about it because we had so much momentum going with the Veterans Resource Radio, which we're now resurrecting on the Q with James Floyd. We had a lot of things going. We were on a lot of stations back then, and we were going. And then all of a sudden, I stroked out and spent a long time in the hospital and longer time in rehab and recovery, learning how to write, learning how to brush your teeth, learning how to work a microwave oven. Sounds pretty simple for most people, but I remember standing in front of the microwave when I was put back home and standing there for an hour trying to figure out how it worked. And I called a friend of mine and I said, how do you work the microwave? He said, number one, don't put metal in it.
Yeah, right.
And so it really slowed us down in our momentum, and I'm just now back, I think 20 some weeks since I got out of the last recovery center. And I'm trying as hard as I can to get back in the swing of things, coming on here with you. Getting on the Q and having David Booth, he's going to be my guest today, the day of this taping, and just trying to get the word out there of what's going on with our veterans. That's my passion now. Like so many of us this age, we're pretty well set for life, and I'm just trying to recapture that year and a half that I wasn't able to do anything, and so I've got catching up to do. And you've got to have a passion for it to do it. You know, there's a lot of people that keep.
That's why you're here, because you have the passion that I have, the passion that David Booth has, that Maria has, and my good friend Keith Oliver has, who also been on the show. We just got to get the word out and stand up, America, and be recognized.
If you go to a fish fry or you go to something, as a layman, and you go to one of these fundraising events, there's no saying that $14.95 you just paid for that nice plate of food. couldn't be accentuated by another 25 or a 50 or even a $100 bill. You're going to spend it somewhere. Why not spend it on our troops? Why not help the people in the forest? Why not help David with their work and the honor flight? There's so many ways we could help. You don't have to go and become a member of a group to support it financially.
No, you don't have to, but I'll tell you what, your Legions, your VFWs nowadays, the membership has been, well, it's great down here, but all across the country you're seeing them. For instance, my old Legion post in Connecticut used to be about 450, now they're about 120.
Yeah.
You know, and you're seeing that where Legions and VFWs are kind of merging sometimes just because the membership's not there. You need to get out and support those organizations because they do so much. And
you know, and I'm like you, I'm hoping that the young veterans who are coming back from Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, et cetera, you know, we had a little trouble over there just this week with some tankers from Japan being bombed. You know, when they come back, I wish there was a little bit more emphasis in getting them to join the VFWs and to join the American Legions and make them think they're welcome. Because I think when you talk to a lot of the soldiers, as you and I have, a lot of them say, well, no, that's not for my generation. No, it is your generation.
Yeah, a lot of them say, you know, that's just a bar. Well, yeah, a lot of them have canteens, but some of them don't have canteens. And the money that they raise, for instance, the AMVETS over here works with the Eagles, and they both donate money, and they do fundraisers to raise money to send supplies over to our troops, wherever they are at, you know, especially the ones way out in the desert or in the jungle or something, and they give them, if you're out there listening, folks, and you've got all those hotels, and you got all those little shampoos and soaps, bring them on down to the AMVETS post 2006. We send that stuff right overseas because they're out in the boonies. They don't have that stuff. Or out in the desert.
And you know,
you get involved. People need to get involved.
We as a society don't know that, except for good people like you and Lakefront TV and James and the groups up in the villages that I work with. When you walk up to the average person and you say, you know, we're still losing soldiers.
Yeah.
They go, what? I didn't know we had that. Or we're losing soldiers to suicide. And oh, by the way, they could use some soap, some shaving gear. The ladies could use their products. And they go, well, doesn't the service provide that? Not always. And not everything they need.
No.
So we have good Americans, especially in this area of Florida. We are so great. The people do give, and they do go to that box in the pantry and say, yeah, there's 100 bars of soap here from the Quality Inn, the Ramada Inn, and all that.
I've seen people, you know, I've talked to people like that, and they say, oh, I got boxes of that stuff. Well, bring it down to the AMVETS and give them all those little containers of shampoo and soap. They'll love it. But you know what?
What's that?
You've been in this business long enough. You know there's a time limit.
There is a time limit.
And I think we've got to it. I want to thank you for what you do, and encourage people to listen to the Q, our partners here in this, and also the Daily Commercial. We're all working together lately, and I think that's great. And if more people work together, the better things will get, right?
We need to support our local media.
Yeah.
And newspapers around the country are having a hard time. Get behind the Daily Commercial. They're local. Their writers are local. Their editors. You know, they've got to pay their bills too.
And check out what's going on in your veterans community when it comes to fundraisers and get involved. You know, that's the message I try to get out.
Yes,
and
sir.
I know you do too. And I want to wish you a lot of luck.
Thanks.
On your future endeavors. I'm glad to see you're back up and running. So, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Good to meet you,
So
sir.
we have to say goodbye.
Yes, sir.
And this is how we do it. To
Yep.
all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.
Thank you so much, Bob.
You're supposed to go like that.
Oh, right on my heart. There
You
you go.
ready?
See, I'm new to that. Try
Yeah.
it again.
All right, here we
Take
go.
two.
We're going to take two. Well, it's time to go, Rob. Thank you for coming on the show. And I guess it's time to say goodbye, and this
Yep.
is how we do it. To all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. It goes this way, not this way.
Okay. Well, try it again. Let me do that again. Like that, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Let's do it. Take
All right,
three.
well, take three. They don't usually do take threes, but we'll do it
Right.
take three.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Rob. And good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Glad to see you up and running. But time to say goodbye, and this is how we do it. To all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.